Well, hi. Today is Friday, February 6th, 2026. I'm Todd Studer, and this is Morning Coffee. Like, you know how I feel about politics. I'm not a fan. I think oftentimes it can be very divisive. However, sometimes I think that we need to meet the folks that are representing us, and today is one of those days. Last November, Cole Button was elected to the Council Bluffs City Council, and he's still pretty new to the council. He was just sworn in, I think it was on the 2nd of January. So we're going to talk with Cole about how things have been since taking over the seat in the city council for Council Bluffs, and also what he sees are some of the major issues that are facing our city. And that is going to be the topic of today. It's Cole Button, City Council member for Council Bluffs, our guest on Morning Coffee. Technology should be working for you, not against you. And at ThinkSpace IT, they provide expert IT solutions to keep your business running smoothly and securely. From cybersecurity and cloud services to network management and tech support, they simplify IT so you can focus on what matters most. Stay protected, stay connected, stay ahead. Visit ThinkSpaceIT.com. If you're looking for a laid-back spot with great food and even better company, I have the spot for you. It is the Mile Away, north on Old Lincoln Highway in Council Bluffs. This family-run bar and grill, your go-to for mouth-watering wings, unbeatable weekly specials, and a welcoming atmosphere that feels like home. You know, they're open for breakfast now, Tuesday through the weekend, and also you can grab lunch. They're going to have some unbeatable weekly specials there at the Mile Away. And again, as I mentioned, Old Lincoln Highway, just travel north and you'll see it. If you get to Crescent, you've gone too far. But follow them on Facebook for all the latest events and specials. And Morning Coffee, supported by Bryce Taylor and GLI Insurance Group, proudly serving Council Bluffs, Tabor, and Clarinda. The start of the year is a great time to reset and look ahead. New plans, new goals, and making sure the things you've worked hard for are protected as we roll through winter. Bryce and the team at GLI live and work right here in our communities, and they're always happy to sit down, answer questions, and help neighbors make sense of their coverage. GLI Insurance Group, local people, local service, helping our communities start the year strong. I haven't had an opportunity to talk face-to-face with Cole Button since he was a candidate for Council Bluffs City Council, and now you are a member of the City Council. Congratulations.
I am. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Well, after we did our interview in the park when you were running, I know that interview got a ton of comments under it, and they were positive comments about, hey, we really liked what you had to say. So I know that the campaign that you were running on, you stayed positive. I never saw you do anything negative online. And because my guess is that you knew that when this thing's all over with, I still have to lay my head down at night, and you wanted to be able to feel good about it. Would that be an accurate statement?
Exactly.
Yeah. So the process then, from take me back to learning that, hey, we just got to win here. What kind of emotions were you feeling?
I mean, it was kind of a roller coaster. Obviously, anybody who's run for a public office knows how stressful that can be. I mean, you never know if you're doing everything right or if it's going to be election day and you're going to be 10 points behind. Yeah. You just always run like you're 10 points down. Never get arrogant and be like, "Oh, I'm definitely going to win this. I don't need to, try hard or anything like that." The important thing is making sure that you're talking to the people and listening a lot more than you're talking. That is probably the biggest thing to keep in mind when you're running for any office is listen twice as much as you talk, because the people are trying to tell you what they want to see. They're trying to tell you what their concerns are, what their problems are, what they need from you in the office. So if you listen more than you talk, you'll learn everything you need to, and then you'll know, okay, these are the things I need to focus on. These are the things that are going to matter to the voters. These are the things that we need to prioritize in the next 4 years, and these are the things that'll get us reelected. If we can work on making these problems better and making these issues, putting us in a better situation, then we'll have done a good job, and the voters will see that, and they'll reward us with another term.
When you were doing all of that, did anything jump out as there are some common themes here that you were hearing a similar concern from a lot of different people?
So obviously the biggest concerns that I heard from the public was very in line with the top issues that I was running on. Obviously, coming from public safety background, being a correctional officer at the jail, the biggest passions for me are crime, public safety, and the homelessness. And those were the probably the top concerns that I heard over and over. Um, just everybody was saying, "Oh, I don't feel safe. I don't feel comfortable taking my kids to the park. I don't feel comfortable letting my kids go out at night, or play outside after dark." And that's a concern because you want to live in a community where you feel safe letting your kids play outside after dark. That's the kind of place you want to raise a family, and that's the kind of place I want Council Bluffs to be. So hearing those, I think that a lot of people thought that my message of public safety and tough on crime and I think that really resonated with a lot of voters, and I think that was ultimately what propelled me into the office.
And well, we have had several conversations sitting in this room about homelessness,
Hmm.
about, and I think I talked to you about it too, that my view as a non-expert, I am not an expert
No,
on
no.
this subject, but my view on it is it's two separate issues. You
Hmm.
have homelessness as an issue and you have homeless people. There's two separate things going on.
Right.
And while they are very related, I'm not sure that they require the same solution.
Right.
So, and again, these are opinions of mine, and I am curious if has is it a topic of conversation in the meetings you've been in so far? Are people taking a look at it and trying to formulate possible solutions, or
Hmm.
where do things stand right now?
No, absolutely, and I would agree with you that those are kind of two separate. They're connected, but they're different.
Hmm.
Obviously, the homeless problem is a nationwide problem. It is not unique to Council Bluffs. It is everywhere. But the problems that we're seeing is that a lot of these homeless people from they're not just from Council Bluffs. We're getting homeless people coming in from Omaha, from Lincoln, from Texas, and all over the country. And because they know that talking to them at the jail, like, your last address was Texas. What the heck are you doing here? And he said, "Well, we hear you guys got more benefits for homeless people over here, so we come over here." And that's a big problem because we want to make sure that we're taking care of our own. If we have a local person that, oh, I know, Jim, he's a good guy, but he lost his job and now he's homeless. Okay, let's help him out. Let's help him get back on his feet. That's the intent. But then you got all these people from all over the country that come here, and that now you're in charge of taking care of all of them. And that's obviously going to be an ongoing problem, and we're trying to find ways to prioritize the safety, and we don't want anybody to freeze or anything like that. We have warming shelter, which is great. But we got to make sure that our taxpayers are helping Council Bluffs homeless people, and that we're not trying to become the nation's hub for homeless people. So I mean, ongoing conversations are still going on with that. The police department is doing a phenomenal job with the HOP team. They had 700 calls for service recently in one of their latest reports of um, kind of the numbers that they're looking at. So we're seeing a lot of good work from them. Got to make sure that they have the resources and support that they need to keep us safe and to keep the streets safe for the public. But yeah, that's going to be an ongoing concern, and we're going to be keep looking into that continuously.
The way that I understand how that HOP team works
Hmm.
is it is identifying individual issues
Hmm.
that might be in an encampment, or just finding somebody that has no place to go that's out on the street.
Right.
There's not a blanket fix for,
Mm-mm.
because everybody's situation has its own unique issues that are going on. So is that accurate, that this is what this team is doing, is helping to identify specifically what someone might need and then directing them where they can find that?
Yeah, so obviously like you said, there's no single cause of someone's homelessness. People are homeless for a litany of different reasons, whether it be, you know, life happens and they got laid off and they're down on their luck, but they want to get back to work and they want to get out of that situation and we want to help them get out of that situation. Or somebody has been in that lifestyle for years and years because they're comfortable in it. They don't like, having to answer to a boss or, go do anything that they don't want to do. And they're comfortable living in that situation, or, they have an addiction or a mental illness that's not being treated. And, that, keeps forcing them back out into that situation. Um, there's like I said, there's a whole litany of reasons, but yeah, so the HOP team is, you know, doing phenomenal work with trying to connect with those people, find out what they need, what their stories are, what's the underlying root causes of their issues, and if they want to get help, if they want to get support and get off the streets and get off the taxpayers' dime, how do we go about connecting them with the right resources? Obviously, that's going to be a big ongoing project, as I mean, it's not going to go away anytime soon. Any politician who says that they're going to end homelessness in 4 years is lying to you. So just being blunt and being honest, it's going to be an ongoing battle, but we have to make sure that we're prioritizing public safety, we're prioritizing the people, the community, and we got to make sure that we're keeping everybody safe.
And your job now as a member of the city council is being able to maintain a clear view of the big picture.
Yes.
And yes, this particular issue is very large. Is it the biggest issue in town? That's not up for me to say. But even if it is, there are still other things happening.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ignore everything else to put all of the resources and all of the energy into one specific thing, then everything else suffers.
Yes.
So how do you compartmentalize all of that? How do you keep understanding, okay, we need to focus on this part now,
Mm-hmm.
even though this is still happening?
Right. So Council Bluffs, we have a lot of amazing people working for the city. Council Bluffs' biggest asset is its people, I believe. I mean, I truly believe that. And we have, a lot of different departments working on different projects, whether that's, the police working on the homeless and the crime, or community development, or, the parks department, the business outreach programs that we have. There's a lot of different people with different projects on their plate that come to the council and say, this is where I'm at on this project. This is what we're working on. Here's what we're looking at for the next, 12 months or the next 3 years. Obviously, we just had the council just voted to go forward on the next step for the 2050 comprehensive plan. So that's going to be a more large scale, long-term plan for the city of what do we want the city to look like by 2050 and how are we going to take measurable steps to get there. So, I mean, that's going to encompass, everything from zoning to housing development. How are we going to grow our population to X by this date, Y by this date, Z by this date, and how do we get there, and how do we make sure that we're attracting businesses? So we have a whole litany of different projects on our plate, but we have a lot of different great people in different departments working and spearheading those projects.
We listen. I have seen it online, so I know that this exists. We can have people that have an understanding of some of the different things that need to happen,
Mm-hmm.
but then you get the not in my neighborhood
Yes.
part. And as just a layperson sitting on the side, it's frustrating for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it's like for somebody sitting
Yeah.
in your chair.
Yeah, it's a tough situation because obviously I think everybody in town, or at least the vast majority of them, would agree that we need more housing development. We need some more density. Obviously, over the last 50 years, we have not grown as a city in population, but while our population has stayed the same, operating expenses keep going up because the cost of everything keeps going up. So eventually, if you don't grow your tax base and broaden the tax base by adding more people, eventually you're not going to have any choice but to raise property taxes, and nobody wants that.
Mhm.
Everybody, I think property taxes are too high. I don't want to see them increased. So I think everybody would agree that, hey, we need more housing development, but not anywhere near where I live.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is because it has to go somewhere. So how do you balance that with, the individual needs of the people who live in that neighborhood with the greater good of the community, as the town as a whole needs more housing development. We need more places for seniors to live. We need more places for low income residents to live. We need more places for young people to live who want to start and grow a family here.
Yeah, it was brought up in an interview I did many, many months ago that the density thing wasn't something I'd ever really considered.
Mhm.
And the word itself almost sounds negative,
Mhm.
but it's not. Because take a look at a community maybe about the size of Ankeny. Ankeny's a little bit bigger than we are, but they're a whole lot square footage smaller, you know,
Yes, exactly.
because they have a much higher density, and it allows them to do a lot more things
Mhm.
because they're not as spread out.
Exactly.
And when you think about Council Bluffs, we are spread out.
Mhm.
We have pockets in neighborhoods that, housing is tight together, but other areas are wide open. So that's a lot of area to have to
Mhm.
take care of, and that all takes money to take care of it.
Exactly. And obviously, I don't think our goal is to become like Omaha with tall skyscrapers. I
Right.
don't think that's not our goal. But we need to make sure that we have enough population to support the funding needs of the people. Like, obviously, it costs a lot of money to have a police department. It costs a lot of money to have parks and libraries. It costs a lot of money to have a fire department. And the more people you have, you got to have, the services to support them and respond to those emergencies and provide the needs and, the facilities that people want to see in the community they live in. I mean, nobody's going to come to Council Bluffs and stay here long term if there's nothing to do. So we got to make sure that we have the density to support those projects with the funding. And obviously, like I said, we don't want to see property taxes go up. I don't want to see property taxes go up. So if we're not going to raise the rate, we have to broaden the base so that we can get that additional tax revenue to keep up with the increasing expenses.
Something you talked about when you were running for office, and you've already mentioned it here too,
Mm.
is being open to communication. And
Yes.
and I think that's not just listening, but that's also talking. And it's
Mhm.
also saying, here is what we are working on, and getting feedback from that. I think, uh, again, full of opinions, that
Mhm.
recently, with something that happened last year, that it wasn't talked about enough, and
Mhm.
people kind of felt like it was thrown at them, and it kind of backfired on everybody that was behind it. I don't know whether it was a good or bad idea, and I'm talking about the Dodge Park thing.
Right.
I don't know. I can't say.
Mhm.
I'm definitely not well versed enough to know, was this the right move or the wrong move.
Mhm.
But what I do know is we didn't really hear about it
Right.
until it was pretty well formed, and then it kind of felt like it was being thrown at us, and
I would
it
agree.
got a lot of pushback on it, I
Oh,
think. Yeah.
absolutely. No, I would agree. And I think any projects going forward, the city needs to make sure that they increase communication. I've talked about this with Mayor Shudak and others as well. Is that, if we want to make sure that we need to make sure that we're communicating everything effectively to the public, and that if we're going to have something big coming up down the pipeline, we need to give the public plenty of advance notice. We need to advertise it in as much areas as we can and provide them with opportunities before the city council meeting and outside of the city council meeting to come and voice their support or opposition for it and give us their feedback. And maybe, they have questions, maybe they legitimately aren't sure where they stand on an issue, but they want to ask questions of, well, what's going to happen with this, or where's the funding going to come from, or X, Y, or
Mhm.
Z. And then having us be available, and the experts, department heads and the developers on projects, and having them be available to answer those questions and maybe alleviate some of those concerns. I think that's something the city needs to improve on, and I'm definitely going to keep pushing for that as my term on the city council.
You mentioned the new mayor, Jill
Mhm.
Shudak. Do you think it's easier or harder coming in as a new council member when the mayor is also new? Is there a difference there in your mind, do you think?
Well, it's hard for me to say because obviously I wasn't on the council with the old mayor.
Mhm.
So this is the only mayor I've ever worked with. So it seems like there is a bit of a learning curve for both of us. I think anytime somebody goes into a brand new job, I think there's going to be a steep learning curve to it, and everybody's going to operate in their own different style. I'm sure Jill is going to run things a little differently than Matt did. I'm sure there are probably things that I agree with her on. There's probably going to be things I disagree with her on. But obviously she is the mayor now, and it's her prerogative on how she wants to run her departments. And got to make sure that at the end of the day that we're working together to make sure that things are getting done for the city and that departments are getting funded and that the people are getting protected. But I think it is, a big learning curve for both me and Jill. Obviously Steve has been here for a minute, so he's a little more comfortable with, going
Mhm.
into the next 4 years. He doesn't have as big of a learning curve as we do, but no, I think anytime you go into a new job, there's going to be a steep learning curve.
The atmosphere around politics across the entire country has been, I think, by calling it volatile,
That would be an understatement.
yeah, we're doing a bit of an understatement there. How do you stay out of that? How do you not fall into that trap? And because what I see oftentimes is people will confuse a political position
Hmm.
with a personality character and
Yes,
thinking that, oh, this is it's not only do I don't agree with your position, you're evil for thinking it.
exactly.
And this is not unique to whether you have an R or a D next to
Hmm.
your name. You see that both sides. So
Yep.
how do you stay out of that?
I try to stay off social media personally. Like
Smart move.
I honestly, I mean, I just avoid the comment sections on political forums.
Hmm.
I if I get on Facebook, it's usually to wish somebody a happy birthday or see, what family or friends have been up to.
Yeah.
But I mean, anything political, I try to avoid on social media because that's just where everything just keeps getting uglier and uglier. And um, yeah, if you you know anytime you look at the comments section, you're just like, oh my gosh, that got so nasty so fast, and everybody hates each other. And it's like I don't think that's
Yeah.
accurate. Especially when people say things that when they're anonymous behind a keyboard that I don't think they would say to you if they were face to face with you in real life.
There's times that I think that comment section is you're choosing to take a swim in the septic system.
Yes.
It's just
Yeah, I just
it's
try
not
to
a place.
avoid social media as much as I can.
Yeah, it's not a place that I really want to be. But it I do think that, again, going back to something you were saying earlier about communication, is we've often have lost an understanding about how to do that,
Hmm.
and an understanding that we can disagree and still be respectful.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. I mean, I obviously, politically, I think me and Jill and Steve are, on different sides of the aisle, and that's okay. With the end of the day, we're all on the city council and the mayorship, and we got to work together. I mean, I have had several meetings with Jill on different projects and different ideas, and if she proposes an idea that I agree with, I'm not gonna vote no just because we might be on different sides of the aisle. I mean, but at the same token, I'm not going to side with it if I don't believe in what it does and believe it will be good for the people. So I mean, at the end of the day, I'll work with somebody who, whether they're an R or a D or an independent or whatever, and as long as we can work together constructively and respect each other and get things done for the people and get something across the finish line that makes the situation a little bit better than it was, then I think I've done my job.
how's time management been working for you? You still had your day job. Well, actually, your day job is not a day job. So,
Yeah.
how has all of that been working out?
Yeah. So, for any of your viewers who don't know, I'm a correctional officer over at the jail for the sheriff's office. So, we work 12-hour shifts. I'm on the night shift. So, I work 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And a lot of times I go in early to do overtime or trade. So, sometimes I'll be working a 16-hour shift from 2 p.m. until 6 a.m. So obviously it's been a little bit difficult trying to balance that with making sure I get enough sleep.
Hmm.
Definitely a lot of nights when I don't. Um, but I mean, that's the job I ran for. I know that time management is probably one of my better skills. Um, but yeah, it's just it is a bit of a challenge to try to make sure that you're meeting all of your city obligations, which I have been. I haven't missed a single meeting yet. It's still early, but I have looking down the pipeline for the next 12 months. I got trades scheduled for the days where I am scheduled to work and that might conflict so that I can make sure that I'm at all the city council meetings and make sure that I'm at all the study sessions and be available to the public. But yeah, no, I mean, it's been a little bit of a challenge. I think yesterday I got about 3 hours of sleep, got up, went to a couple meetings at City Hall, and then went to work a 16-hour shift at the jail. So it was a little rough, but
Well, uh, just from a understanding what I do about putting in a lot of hours, just make sure you got your downtime,
yeah,
and that's actually critical.
yes,
That
it is.
taking a chance to let your mind reset and rest, besides sleep,
Mhm.
is important if you want to be able to stay focused on everything that you need to do, whether at work, whether it's for the city or what have you.
Yep.
It's key. That's just my little
No, and
gray-haired wisdom for the day.
I would agree, and I do try to make sure that I'm balancing the two with with personal life and making sure. Like I promised my wife, I was like, all right, for Valentine's Day, I made a reservation. We're gonna go out to eat. I'm gonna not work that night.
Hmm.
I'm gonna try to get everything done for the city and for my personal job ahead of time and after, so I can make sure to have a little bit of that time so I don't end up sleeping on the couch. So
Excellent. Well, I hope that as you continue to want to stay in communication with people in the city, that you keep us in mind. We'd love to be a resource for you.
absolutely.
Come on over. You got something that, hey, we have something we want to talk about. Reach out, and we'll arrange the schedule to make sure that you get on, and we can do that. And I'm grateful for the time that you've given me already, and I'm looking forward to the next 4 years and seeing what you can do.
I appreciate that, and thank you for having me again. I appreciate being here.
Service Master Restore by Schmader knows it's hard to get back to normal if you've suffered serious property damage due to flooding, fire, or smoke. Those problems can often lead to mold and leave you with all sorts of questions. How am I going to get my home or business back to normal? Service Master Restore by Schmader is here to restore your space, offering quality commercial and residential restoration services. Give them a call, 402-339-9911. And S&B Country Kennel, the top spot in Southwest Iowa when you need to know your dog will receive only the best. Boarding, daycare, grooming, self-washing, training, and even a membership available to a dog park over an acre in size. S&B Country Kennel also has rescue dogs, so check with them about adoption possibilities. S&B Country Kennel, just west of I-29 on Bungie Avenue, south of Council Bluffs. Thank you again, Cole Button, for being our guest today. Looking forward to having Cole back into the studio. Also, looking forward to seeing you after a relaxing weekend. My name's Todd Studer, and we'll see you here Monday morning.